Welcome to the Three Championship Drive podcast on YouTube, hosted by me, Lance Caporossi. Follow me on X at Lance Caporossi the same way you see it on the screen. Check out the Three Championship Drive podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit the subscribe button there, and then do me a favor, tell a Pistons fan. So I was going to start this podcast by saying Ausar wasn't snubbed for the Rising Stars game, and I'm still sticking with that. He was not he wasn't snubbed. If you're looking at the front court roster for this game, which I'm doing right now, and I'm just looking at the front court players, just looking at the guys that play that 4 spot, that 3 spot in the NBA, and here are the other names that he's up against. Chet Holmgren, he's not making it over him. He's not making it over Jaime Jaquez. He's not making it over Brandon Miller. And he's not making it over Victor Wembanyama. He might have a case for Derek Lively the second, but he's on a winning team. He's also shooting like 75 or 76% from the field, something ridiculous. Now, Bilal Coulibaly, they're listing him as a guard. He does play majority of his minutes as a forward. Now, this is another name where, yeah, Ausar probably could have made it over him. The only problem is I don't think the NBA really wanted 3 Detroit Pistons players in the Rising Stars Challenge. And also, Ausar Thompson's game right now really isn't entertaining because, what sells in the NBA is the offense, and the offense really isn't there for Ausar Thompson just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and say he wasn't snubbed. I will say he was robbed for a chance to play in the Rising Stars game by his own coach, Monty Williams. So just real quick before I get into this part, again, I'm saying Ausar Thompson wasn't snubbed. There's some good front court players on that rookie roster. Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, Brandon Miller, Jaime Jaquez. We'll say Bilal Coulibaly. Man, I almost said his name right. I think I just said it again wrong right there. But those first 4 names I mentioned, and Derek Lively, I almost forgot him too. Those names right there, he wasn't going to make it over those guys. But Monty Williams didn't put him in a good position. Again, like I said, he robbed him. So I forgot how good Ausar Thompson was at the beginning of the season. In his first 18 starts, he had 8 games with 10 or more rebounds. 5 of those games, he had 12, 12, 13, 15, and even a 16 rebound game. On November 5th, he almost had a 5-by-5 game. He missed it by 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. His averages in those first 18 starts, 11 points per game, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, almost 2 blocks, 2 if you round up, 47% from the field, 12% from 3, and 70% from the free throw line while playing 30 minutes per game. So those were pretty exciting numbers. And if he had kept that up, which I think he could have done, there would be more of a case for Ausar Thompson being in the Rising Stars game. Now, after those 18 starts, for some reason, he was demoted to the bench for 4 games, playing less than 20 minutes per game in those 4. Then he starts 5 more games, goes back to the bench, starts 1 more game, and then he's been on the bench ever since. So in 24 starts this season, I gave you the 18 starts at the beginning, but in 24 starts this season for Ausar Thompson, he averaged 11 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal per game. Now, the Pistons only won 2 games with him as a starter, so maybe Monty knew something. In 22 games off the bench, Ausar has averaged 6 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 1 assist per game. It's been mixed results for him. I get why Pistons fans are upset that the NBA overlooked Ausar, but also at the same time, it's really unfair to blame the NBA for not including Ausar Thompson in this game. I would love to see him. I really would. But you look at those again, you look at the front court names for the NBA rookies, and I just don't know who you put him over. Now, if you're considering him guard, which I don't think you can. Now, he has gotten some minutes at the 2 spot, but he has primarily played at the 3 and the 4. So that's the only reason I'm calling him a front court player. And I did throw out Bilal because he does play a good chunk of his minutes at the 3 spot, but he is listed at a guard. And that's the I'm not comparing him to Keontae George or Jordan Hawkins or Scoot Henderson or Cason Wallace and Brandon Pazimski. I don't even know how to say his name. I think I got close with it right there. They're all guards listed here. So I don't know if they play any minutes at the 3. I didn't look it up. I just looked up Bilal Koulibaly, and I do know that he plays minutes at the 3. So it's a little interesting they threw him at the guard considering the fact that the Washington Wizards have had a pretty poor season as well. But I also think he gets the mention, and I'm not trying to take anything away from his game or his rookie season because he has stood out in moments. But I also think he got this consideration because he was Victor Wembanyama's teammate last year. So maybe you're putting Victor on there. Hey, let's put one of his former teammates and see what they can do. Maybe they'll have some fun reconnecting on one of the biggest stages during the season. So maybe that's why they did it. I don't know. Again, I'm in the school of thought that Ausar was not snubbed. I'm not going to blame the NBA. I'm putting all of that on Monty Williams. You should have kept him starting. I don't know why you played Isaiah Livers over him. I don't know why you played Killian Hayes over him. It would have been fun to see Cade, Ivy, Ausar, Boyan, and Duran start a bunch of games this season. I think that should have been the starting lineup. And I think if Ausar had kept starting and kept putting up the numbers he was, where he was putting out a complete game in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals, yeah, the shooting percentage wasn't there. But if you utilize him right, he could shoot around 50% from the field like he was towards the beginning of the season with those 18 starts. And even in those 24, the 18 starts, I don't have the numbers for the 24 starts. I'm sure it's somewhere up there, but 47% from the first 18 starts. It's just mind blowing. I don't get Monty Williams' decision just to bench him. It makes no reason. It makes no sense. But in other news, Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, they made the sophomore rosters as they should. It's crazy that Jaden Ivey gets more respect from the NBA than he does his own head coach because I really think Jaden Ivey, even if he continued to come off the bench, they probably still would have put him in this game just based on what he did as a rookie. I don't know. Maybe they won it. I have no idea. But it's just crazy that, for the Pistons, he's had such an up and down season because Monty Williams refuses to utilize him, has stuck him in the corner, taken reps from him off the ball or even with the ball in his hands, excuse me. And even though he's had a coach that it seems like kind of has it out for him and has had to give him a shorter leash than he has any other player on this roster, he has still thrived and he has been recognized as one of the bright young players in the NBA. So kudos to Jaden Ivey. That is awesome. Way to respond to just a weird coaching situation in Detroit. So I do have a trade that I want to talk about, and it's Miles Bridges. The Pistons have shown interest in him in a while. It seems like every week this dude is being mentioned or rumored to the Detroit Pistons. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm not going to talk about the off-court stuff. You can look it up for yourself. I'm just going to talk about the basketball player. Now, I'm sure there are some people say, hey, that's not fair. You're not telling the whole story. It's not my place to. I'm just talking about the basketball player here. And Miles Bridges, he would make the Pistons more competitive than they are right now. He just for sure would. This is a guy this season that's averaging 27 and 3 with shooting splits of 45, 35, 86, and he's shooting 39% on catch and shoot threes. He would be a great outlet for Cade or Jaden Ivey. I don't think Charlotte would do the trade I'm about to mention. I just threw this in the trade machine because I was looking at the Charlotte Hornets and I'm like, you know what? Ever since they traded Terry Rozier, They really don't have a guard to pair with LaMelo Ball. So I was thinking the trade, and it does work. It would be Alec Burks to Charlotte for Miles Bridges. I think Alec Burks would be wonderful next to LaMelo Ball. Now, there's a little bit of an age difference, so that's why I think Charlotte would rather pass on that, or maybe you have to give him a young player. I'm willing to throw Marcus Sasser into a trade for a player like Miles Bridges. Doesn't necessarily have to be Miles Bridges, but you find me another guy averaging 27 and 3, shooting 47% from the field, 35% from three, 86% from the line, and 39% on catch and shoot threes. You find me that guy, and we'll make a trade. That's fine. I just am mentioning Miles Bridges because he has shown there's just been rumors to Detroit for him. That's why I'm bringing his name up. But yeah, feel free to drop in the comments another player with those averages that has been rumored to Detroit, and I'll definitely take a look at it. I think Miles Bridges, what he does, he gives you, like I said, another outlet for Cade, Jaden Ivey, even Dern if he wants to continue to rack up the assist. Gives you that guy along the 3-point line, gives you extra athleticism in transition. He's another shot creator. He's not great defensively, but he's going to give you some effort. He can block a few shots. And I think if you put him in the right scheme, he could be a plus defender for you. That's what I like about Miles Bridges. Plus, he's from Michigan. Now, some people might say, like, you know what, that might be a bad idea. We've had so many examples throughout sports history of guys coming home. They start hanging out with the same old people, and who knows what could happen. I don't know that about Miles Bridges, and I'm not going to pretend like I know that about Miles Bridges. But I think as just a looking at the roster, he would definitely help out the Pistons. I know he's going to be a free agent, but he might want to come home, play for the hometown team. He might like, playing with Cade and Jaden Ivey, even though I know he said he wants to stay in Charlotte. Him and LaMelo, I do like watching those two play. I think it is pretty interesting. They do make a fun little exciting duo in Charlotte. I just think if we're just looking at the basketball player, he makes a lot of sense for the Pistons being able to play that 3 and 4 spot for them. Gets them a little younger, gets them a little bit more athletic, and just gives you another guy that would probably most likely be the second, maybe the third best player on this team behind Cade Cunningham. It would be I think it would be pretty good for the Detroit Pistons. And if you're comfortable with his character and everything that has gone off the floor, I really think you need to take a look at Miles Bridges. Now, I got another guy that's going to be a free agent. He's going to be a restricted free agent this year, but I want to talk about him. And he plays that forward position, that 3-4. He's kind of known as a 3 and D. He plays for the Utah Jazz. I'm talking about Fontecchio. He's 6'8", shoots 45% from the field, 40% from three, 79% from the free throw line. He does a little bit of everything for the Utah Jazz. He's more than just a shooter, though. This is like he's a willing defender. He makes strong cuts, finishes well at the rim. He's willing to make that extra pass. He can put the ball on the ground. That's what I like about his game. And I think if the Pistons really are interested in getting rid of Boyan this offseason, Fontecchio could be a good replacement for Boyan. Now, I don't think he's not going to give you the same production. He's not going to give you 20 points per game like Boyan does, but as another outlet for Cade and Jaden Ivey as they drive, as they kick, this is a guy that can space the floor. Again, willing to play defense. He can attack closeouts. He's a strong finisher at the rim, and he can get to the free throw line. He is a little bit older. He's 28, but you get a few good years out of him. He's also on the Jazz where they do play more of a team-friendly game of basketball, which I think that's what the Pistons are ultimately trying to do. So Fontecchio, I really like him for the Detroit Pistons. Now, I said he is a restricted free agent, so the Jazz could match any other team's offer. But if you're Detroit, you might be able to throw him a little extra money where the Jazz are like, you know what, we're good. I do know that Fontecchio has said he would rather stay on the same team and his wife is tired of moving. So maybe the Jazz, they have that upper hand there. But this is a guy that I really do like, and I think he is you might have to slightly overpay for him. Just that's the thing that scares me, though. I know that the Pistons have a ton of cap space going into it, though, but I don't want to overpay for him. I don't know what that number would be. I think 20 million might be really high, but if you could get him for 8, 9, maybe even 10 million a year, which I think actually is pretty reasonable. The Jazz would probably just sign him if that was the case. But if you're the Pistons and you can get him there and you can sign him, that would be a great deal for Fontecchio. I really think he could help this team out. There is one more guy I was looking at in free agency, and that's Jalen Smith from the Indiana Pacers. I believe he's only 23, almost 24 years old, plays that 4 and 5 spot. He can still spread the floor. I think he's shooting close to like 48% from three, which is just honestly insane because the year before, that is not what he was doing. So this year, yeah, he's shooting 49% from three, which is just unreal. 49% from three on 2.4 attempts. Career averages is 33% on 2.3 attempts. I think that's an anomaly. I think he's closer to probably like 34, 35. He only plays 18 minutes for the Indiana Pacers. Now, he does play a good majority of his minutes at the 5 spot. But look, we got Mike Muscala coming off the books. We got Gallinari coming off the books. Troy Weaver and the Pistons think Isaiah Stewart is a starter at the 4 spot. So why not go after Jalen Smith, who could back up Duran at the 5? Let me see something real quick from this free agency list. I just want to see if he's under restriction or if he's like an unrestricted free agent. I just got to bring him up here for a quick second. But I do like Jalen Smith. I really do. I've liked him ever since he was with Phoenix. This was a guy that I really wanted the Pistons to get in on that trade even before Dern was here. I was watching the game when they were playing against the Boston Celtics, and he was able to switch on some guards and make them uncomfortable. That's something I want. Now, maybe he's looking for a starting role in the NBA. I'm not sure. But dude, if he wants to come to Detroit, that would be kind of nice. Oh, so he has a player option for 5.4 million. He's a guy that I could easily see backing out of that because he is only playing 18 minutes per game, only played 18 minutes per game last year. He's going to be still playing behind Miles Turner. Maybe he wants an opportunity to be a backup on another team. I don't know. I'm just kidding. This dude is there's probably no chance Detroit gets him. If anything, this dude is probably looking for a larger opportunity somewhere else. And just by his numbers in 18 minutes per game, he's probably going to get in, probably going to get a nice payday from another team out there. So even though I like Jalen Smith and I would love to see him in Detroit, I think you got a better chance at going after Fontecchio than you do Jalen Smith. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I do appreciate everybody that has subscribed to the channel. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. So again, let me say thank you guys for listening to the 3 Championship Drive podcast. Do me a favor, go to Google, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. After you subscribe, leave a review, drop a rating, vote, or polls. But more importantly, tell a Pistons fan